now we're gonna kind of go to these two sections right here. And these ones here are really useful because the first one here is chats. And this one here, it will maintain a collection of all your chats that you've done in the past, pretty much in your past histories. If you ever gone to a chat that maybe you don't remember, or you just want to kind of go back to it, you will go here and say, I'll say architecture. I think I talked about Stengel one time. It's just like a project that I had, AI education. And then here, it will kind of give me an AI education implementation. So this is a cool thing. Like if for whatever reason, you want to go back to chat that you talked a few weeks ago or something like that. And that's how you can use it. Or you can just go ahead here and start a new chat. And, it will be kind of the same as here. You just go and start a new chat. Anyhow, so that's the chats. That's pretty much straightforward. So here's the other one that I want to show you, and that's going to be the main course of this module, of this class here, is going to be to create new projects. And the reason why you want to create projects here, it's because think about it as whenever you're in the new chat box, think about that as being a sticky note where you will write one thing down, but then after that you forget, right? So every time you start a new chat, you're pretty much having to restart the whole prompt again. So if for whatever reason you are trying to, get a proposal, right? And you put it in the new chat, your instruction of the proposal. Next time you want to propose that, you want to have to put the same instruction back again or a similar instruction. Whereas if you're in projects, you automatically have that conversation going already. So it's a way that you can save that nice procedure of the prompt that you already have and put it in a folder. And that folder, every time you come back and you need that, you have the folder ready for you already with all the instructions needed. So think about it as a folder, like a desk, a dedicated desk that already knows what needs to be done for a specific task. That's the way I can put it. That is better context. Just think about it as a, desk that already has everything you need for something. And then every time you need that specific thing, you know that you already have all the things already set up for that specific thing. Today, we're actually going to be very useful today because the thing I want to change today is that today I want to actually create this one with you rather than me kind of going through how I created one. I want to create one from the scratch with you. I already have sort of like a prompt that I can bring in, but I want to create the agent here with you so you can follow the same instructions. I will also give you the guide on how to download the thing that I'm thinking to build as a prompt, and we can go from there. So before we go into the prompt, I'm going to give you this worksheet here. And this is what we're creating today. So today we're going to create your own productivity expert that is going to help you out. Again, I know I need to make it a little bit broad just because I wanted to start with a due diligence and code analysis one, but I realized that every person is in a different city, different country. Every location or address is constrained to different code or county or map. So that's very specific. So that's something that I will probably do later. More as a template, but I want to start with something also a little easier that can help you right away. Then that is a little bit more broad and can help everyone. So I start with, how about we create a productivity expert that can really help us strategize our week, our day, and it can give it more suggestions on how to optimize our time, right? And save time so we can spend more time with our family and our time also working on other projects that we needed or providing a lot more value. So this one here, we're going to call it Archflow. And feel free to download this and edit however you want to. This is just a really good start that you can already copy paste and edit a few things that you might think, it might improve it, right? So we're calling it Archflow. You can call it however you want to. So this is a senior productivity strategist and efficiency architect with 15 plus years of experience, working exclusively for architecture firms and all sizes. And here's you can say it, right? Here's where you can change that, say for architecture firms that are 5 to 10 people, you're working in a small to medium-sized architecture firm. So here's where you can specify a little bit more. Also, you can go ahead to here I'm going to actually do this. So maybe you can clarify it here. Combine your deep knowledge for architecture workflows, design phases, client management, construction documentation, BIM processes with proven productivity frameworks. This is just the other frameworks that people are using in the industry. You're direct analyst and result driven. Do not give any generic advice. Every recommendation is grounded in the realities of an architectural practice. Depending on the user's input, you will perform one or more of the following. Diagnose inefficiencies, identify where time, energy, resources are being lost in the workflow processes and daily habits, answer productivity Q&A, productivity structure framework, back to answers productivity and efficiency questions specific to architecture practice, right? So here we'll give you kind of thing, you can kind of go through it and really realize, like, okay, what is that I really need? What is that I don't need? So for instance, here is where I'm giving it steps to follow, right? Follow this change of thought process for every response. So identify the user's core problem, diagnose the root point, not just the symptom. Select the most applicable framework. Ask questions one by one if needing more context. Select most applicable framework. Deliver and structure actionable outputs using framework. All right. Specifics, right? So this all goes back to the first classes that we did with prompt engineering, or putting everything in different buckets as far as the role, the task, the context, the examples, the notes, the specificity, right? To make sure that we have the best prompt. And that's where you want to do it. Like every time you want to create a project, you can do it in a very simple way. But if you're going to be something that, for instance, this productivity project is something that I want to use often, right? So to me, that is when it makes sense to actually generate a prompt of this, something of this quality. Like if this is like you're going to use this folder, a project for one script or one project specifically, maybe you don't have to go like this in depth. But if this is something that you want to use as part of the company, right, then it's something you can kind of put the effort to kind of do a little bit more of this, right? So specifics, right? So output format, again, you can kind of go through this. I don't want to go through this because like line by line, because then it's going to really be very long video and you're going to be all bored. But just so you know, here's kind of, I'm showing you the breakdown of everything that we want to create here. You even have notes here at the very end. Let's bring these down. Those are very important. Now, here's the thing. Whenever you are using these let's call it doc, right? We're going to copy paste these into the project's instructions. So what I don't want you to do though, is to copy this last page into the instructions. And the reason why is because this last page is just a reference for you on how can you use it. So this is kind of me giving you an examples on, hey, this is how you can use it, right? If you want a morning daily plan, this is how you can use it if you want a weekly strategy session. This is how you can use it if you want an efficiency audit. These are just examples of how you can use it, of how can you use the project for your daily work. And remember, the more specific your outputs are, the better it's going to be. Right. So all these very generic, as you can see, these are the brackets that we learned in the class, right? So these are meant for you to put your specific task. So this is not going to work that you just copy paste in this. This is for you to just be as a template for you to then add your own context information. So then the project can help you as much as possible. So with that being said, now that I've been giving you an overview of what are we trying to create here, which is just a productivity and efficiency expert that can help you strategize your daily and your weekly life for you to kind of get more time, or just even have ideas on how to prioritize projects, specifically in architecture. With that being said, this is the first thing we're going to do. Once you download this, right, there's different ways you can do it. You can kind of come here. Of course, the base method will be the markdown, right? But for now, we're just going to do this. So do not copy this last page. I will say copy everything else. So I will go here and I will copy everything here until maybe here, right? Do not copy this first page, this first sentence. So I'll say Control C or right click and paste. Sorry, copy. Control C. So I do Control C here. Go back again here. And now we're going to go to the projects here. So here, as you can see, I have already created a few projects, but you normally will probably just have this one here, which is the Claude example project that you have. So when you go to projects here, you're going to see a tab here that's called new project. So you click on it and you're going to be prompted to your personal project here. So there's a few ways of how this is going to work, right? So if you have a free account, you're going to be able to create up to 5 projects. If you have a pro account, which is what I have, you're able to create unlimited projects. Now, there's a core And the paid accounts, the great thing is like it already has a certain amount. If you have a free account, also it's a certain limit on the knowledge base, meaning that there's a certain amount of examples as far as PDFs and things that you can bring into a project. But the great thing about that with the Pro plan is that it will expand that limit. Again, you might want to go to the specifics on how much limit you have, but generally speaking, you can put very big documents in there for your project to analyze or have as an examples or things like that. So you are using like as a code analysis, great. You can upload the whole building code in there, right? And it will be fine. But if you have the free version, you can only do 5 of them and it's limited. Again, something to consider, you want to use the paid account. If you use the Teams or the Enterprise, which is the one that I recommend for companies, you are able to share these projects with the rest of the office. So that's a great benefit because not just, it doesn't mean that if you create one, you're isolated and everybody has to create one of themselves, but you can actually share this through a link with other people or other teams or other teams of the company. In that way, they are all using the same project, so it's consistent, right? Nobody is creating one from scratch or is creating a replica. So that's a little bit on the overview on if you have different descriptions. So once you start creating the new project, the first thing you're going to have is the name of the project. And then we're going to go to the description of the project. So name, I'm going to call it Archflow 1.0. And this is going to be, what are you trying to achieve? My productivity and project time management. So I'm going to create that. And then here, this one here can just be very casual. I mean, don't take these too seriously as far as the name. And I mean, you don't have to be thinking half an hour of what are you trying to achieve here. Like this is just for reference. So as anybody that, let's say even your team is looking this for the first time, it can actually get an idea of what is it going to use it for. Yeah. So along with that, now we're going to make myself small again here. Now we're going to go here. So here is where normally you will start prompting for you to use a project. So think about this as the chat box, right? And then here is where you will have the conversations organized and you can reuse the project knowledge from here. So it will save all the conversations that you're having. You will remember the conversation just for this specific project. On the other side, here we have the memory, right? So the project memory will show here after a few chats. Great. And remember that the memory is that great context. So it will not be sharing the memory with other projects. So memory will stay for this specific project. Also, we're going to go with the instructions. So the instructions would be kind of what I copy pasted. So you can do either way. You can bring that file into the files here and just put a note saying, hey, I want you to follow all the instructions based on this file. Right. The reason I like to keep it like here is because once you kind of copy paste it here, you can just edit it in here, right? Rather than you just having to go to another document that has a folder somewhere to edit it, then copy paste it back in here. So I'm just going to keep it like this. Again, I know and I like to keep it like a space like this sometimes just to kind of have it's easier for me to then read if I ever want to come back to this and edit it. Also, hopefully it's not going to. You see, this is another thing we might need to check. If for whatever reason it's not giving me the right examples, like organize it, maybe this example that I want to bring these as a markdown and put it in the files. Again, this is something you want to test. Notes, again, they're a little convoluted. I want to make sure they look nice so I can read it and I can have some time to edit it. So once you have this, we're going to save the instructions. Great. Think about this. If you, for whatever reason, have already a document that you would like to use, for whatever reason, like for instance, we already had this document here, right? So if we already have a document here that we want to use, you can download it, right? And bring that here and do that. So if you, for whatever reason, are creating a project that you already have some information, as you're saying, like if you're creating a project that it's more like helping you with code analysis or with due diligence or with proposals or things like that, and you already have a building code or a documentation that you wanted to use as a reference and you wanted to read from there, you can come here and upload it right here. And it will, in that way, it has that knowledge base. Something that you want to do is also, you're going to hear you have to be a little bit more specific. So let's say you want to do something with this one, right? So what it will do is just look at the instructions. But if you are asking a question that if for whatever reason, the instructions are not really clear on how to respond, the AI or in this case, Claude, will normally go and scrape the web, right? For it to kind of complement that answer, right? So the same is going to happen with if you do something that has due diligence or code analysis or something like that. What it's going to do is if for whatever reason, it cannot really find that information in the knowledge base that you're giving it, in the instructions or in the files, it's going to start scraping the web. So that's something to consider. So a way to mitigate that is like before you ask the question, if you want to make sure it stays strict to kind of what you're giving it and not just go and scrape the web, you might want to like turn this off, right? In that way, again, it might still go look for data, right, inside its model, but it's going to be less likely that at least it's not going to look at the web. So just think about that. So now if you want a tool specifically that you don't want it at all to look at anything else rather than your documents, you might want to be using Notebook LM because that one there is strictly just looks at the documents. Whereas here, this one here, even though you're telling it not to look at the web, it still has its model that it's been trained with that might be able to bring some information added in to the files. So that's something you might want to consider. Like, again, it depends really for what you want to use it. So with that being said, you can use it here. So you can start testing it. The way I'm going to test it is I'm going to come to, let's see. So now it's a matter of testing. So before I start testing, here's the one thing I'm going to tell you about this. So, and this is something that is probably one of the most important things that a lot of companies don't do this right. And this is that when you're creating any tool, and this is not just with AI, this any tool is going to need refinement, any tool. And even when you do your renderings, when you do your visualizations, when you do your 3D models, when you do your reports, when you do the planche comments, you need to verify, revise, edit, do things. Think about this as the same way, like meaning like if you're thinking that you're just gonna copy paste something that looks fine and then just get always best like great results, you're wrong. Like you might get really good results, but this is like any other tool. Like you need to edit and you need to update every time, right? Not every time, but you need to be testing. And it's not about that whenever, if you don't get the results that you want, it's not necessarily that the tool is bad. It just means that the prompt or the instructions that you're given it needs refinement. You need to go back again to the instructions and see, okay, what is not working? What is working? Okay, maybe I need to change the role. Maybe I need to add more specificity. I see that it's not asking me questions. So maybe I need to, in the notes, saying like, hey, it's very important that you always ask me the question. Or, hey, it's very important that you always list the source. It's very important that you always list factual information. So just make sure that it's about testing and it's about refining the instructions. So that's what I want to just emphasize because that's like 50% of it that most of the people don't do, right? They just kind of create this first instruction and then whether or not it's not working or yes, then that's how they evaluate. What is not about that. That just half the work. The other half of the work is testing and refining. Okay, so let's just test it with this, right? So let's copy paste this instruction. I mean, remember, whenever you do that, you already have these ones here that you can download here. So I'm going to go back to Claude here and I'm going to copy paste. Okay, so before I do this, there is specific ways to, let's say we already created this one. So you can share it with someone. So this will be in a team plan and it will give you a link that you can share that. So this is normally you have the enterprise or the team license because that means that you can actually share it with people within your team, right? You have the star project, right? Meaning like if this is a project that you use often and you want to put it as a priority, you can use that. And then here's where you can edit, you can archive it if you're not going to use it, or you can just delete it all at once. So before we start, there's a couple ways that you can utilize this. You can go back. Let's go back to the new chats here, like as if we're just bringing this in. So you can either or like come here, go to plus, go to projects. And this is the way I like to do it. And then you just choose Archflow and it automatically is going to bring that project in here. Or you can come here to projects and then you can, select which one that you want. And then you can utilize it here in the chat. For my case, I'm just going to start here. And then, I'm going to come here, go to projects, go to Archflow, and then I'm going to copy paste that instruction. So I'm going to say, I'm going to call it BIM and Gen AI consultant at, let's say, I would say actually, 3-person firm. They have Okay, so today I have a few meetings and tasks that I need to accomplish. I'm gonna say to reference. I don't wonder if I can reference my calendar. Reference my calendar. Maybe it's not gonna be able to reference my calendar because there's no. Yeah, I might not be able to reference. To accomplish, build me a structured daily time block. Prioritizing billable work first. Pick my calendar if needed. Right. So then here we're gonna go here. We're gonna do the sonnet. He's not allowing me to bring the connectors here, I wonder. Yeah, so he has the connector. We'll see. Well, that's the beauty of doing this with you in person, right? Like I know how they perform. You see how he's actually asking for a request. So he's actually going to my calendar, right? So that's the great thing about having connectors, especially if you're having something like productivity. If you can connect it with your Gmail or your calendar, Google Calendar, or your Google Drive, right? So he's doing all this. So he's saying your morning is 100% non-billable. Outreach, LinkedIn, workshops. You only confirm billable anchors is from 3 p.m. detail master meeting. This is a structural imbalance in your consulting day. So it's telling me, oh, hey, by the way, you should consider that. Maybe you should be doing a little something more billable. FIDE is unclear, which is, I get it. That's actually work related. One rule for today. Your current calendar default is flipped. Marketing heavy mornings push billable work into the afternoon fragmentation. Even shifting one deep work block to 8 a.m. to 9:30 compounds significantly over a week. What are FIDE and AAAI in the context of those? Okay, so I'll say FIDE is work related. Project currently, what I'm gonna say, visualization project currently working on billable. AAA is group community group non-billable. So that's the great thing, is that asking me questions, is trying to figure it out. Okay, this guy is utilizing all his morning to not do billable time and things like that. But this is what you want. Like if you want to start kind of blocking your calendar, you can also start giving it like, hey, this is like all the projects that I have. Like help me organize the projects here, right? So here's kind of risks that he's giving me. So workshop content is only halfway scheduled. Your calendar shows 10 to 12 p.m., but FIDE also starts at 10. You effectively lose the workshop block day. That's fine. Billable wins. Just don't let workshops bleed into the 1 p.m. deep work. Okay. So I would say, give me your recommendation of what will create the biggest impact today. Right. And we'll see. I mean, maybe it says, oh, maybe it's going to be the, highest impact today, no framework needed, straight answer, delivery and meaningful advance of the FIDE visualization product. What is the best win? You have 2.5 hours of deep work available before FIDE block even starts at 8:30. It's billable, it's active, visualization work is cognitive demanding, it needs your best hours, not your leftovers. So you're giving me this, and you can start asking questions, because remember, this is an agent that is for productivity and efficiency. So you just want to start strategizing with this agent, this project, this folder, how to strategize your day, how to strategize your week. But think about it more as an assistant, right? That's great. And now it has all the context already in there for you. So far it's testing, it's doing a good job, right? So I can always just come here, and that's pretty much it. And then if you want to, you see, you can, whenever you go back to projects here, you can see how it's saving the memory right here on your chats. So you will see those organized in here. So you have the daily time block plan for billable work, right? So, and if you go to chats here, you'll have it there. But the great thing here is that you can continue the conversation in here, and it will still be saving the instructions and the memory from this specific chat, right? So that's the great benefit projects have. I'd really recommend you to use it, especially for our organization, and you can start sharing this with the rest of the team. That way everybody's working for everyone. And when you're organizing something like productivity or production, I would really encourage your company to start at least bringing the Google Calendar in. I get it. That's for some people, maybe Gmail is a little too private and they want to first get a little bit in the water to learn how to trust AI. So I think given the first access to the calendar is a very good first step. Utilize the tool. Your first action will be to download the thing, create your first project, and start utilizing it for your daily productivity and tasks. So thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.